Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Parishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We did complete with the 11th chapter and then we had a recap also. So today we'll be starting with the 12th chapter, but nevertheless, small recap because the continuity is important because it's a one conversation that is happening between Rahuguna and Jadabharata. So therefore, there needs to be some continuity. So Jadabharata was carrying the palanquin improperly because he did not want to hurt the ants, and the palanquin was shaking, and Rahuguna started chastising, and again he continued to carry in the same way, and again Rahuguna started chastising. He chastised him in a very severe way. Are you living dead? Oh, you seem to be mm, not so healthy, not your limbs are not so well formed, and these people are not cooperating with you. Like that, very sarcastic way he spoke. And again, we saw this before. What Rahugana did was not inappropriate because he did not clearly understand that Jadabharata was a Brahmana and a Vaishnava. It was not at all clear because Jadabharata had purposefully covered it so that people don't disturb him. So that was, uh, that was, so it was not really a mistake from the part of Rahuguna. But nevertheless, when he criticized like this, Jadabharata responded that I don't take your words as sarcasm. So please don't worry. If only I was a body, then it would be sarcasm, but I am not the body and I don't relate with the body. I don't identify with the body. Not that I don't relate. I don't identify with the body as the self. And what you say is true, is sarcastic only if, for a person who identifies with the body. For me, all this fatigue and all these things do not exist. And then you called me living dead. Now, can you please tell, if your body is alive or everyone's body is dead? So where is the question of calling only me living dead? And then you said that you are the master and I am the servant and I have to serve. No, this is just a temporary proposition. Are you permanently my master and am I permanently your servant? If you really feel so, then please tell me how I can serve you. And then he said that you said that you are going to punish me. Now, couldn't you identify that I was self-realized? Or even if you could not identify that I was self-realized, could you not even um, see that I was acting at least like a mentally retarded person? So, in such a case, what do you think you will gain by punishing a person who is either self-realized or mentally retarded? So, in this way, he responded back to Rauguna's question by repeating whatever Rauguna had told and giving his own explanations for Rauguna's words. So, after hearing this, Rauguna just fell at the feet of Jadabharata, begged for forgiveness, and asked for um, further clarifications. He said, my dear Lord, uh, you said that you are not fatigued and all that, but this is contrary to my perception. When I walk or when I do some physical activity, I become fatigued. So, how is it that you do not get fatigued? And I have observed it in others also. And you may say that you are not this body, you are the soul. But nevertheless, isn't the soul in intimate connection with the subtle body and the gross body? So therefore, when the gross body experiences Adhyatmic, Adibhautik, and the Adidaivic kleshas, then because of its intimate proximity, the subtle body will also experience it. And because of the intimate proximity with the subtle body, the soul will also experience. This is my common perception. This happens with everyone. Now you are denying that. Are you denying, conventional reality at all? Okay. So when he speaks like this, then Jadabharat starts answering. He says, "Oh, Rahuguna, you are speaking like a very learned man, but you are actually a fool. Why? Because you speak as if the conventional world is all in all, okay? And by giving the example of a pot and milk and sweet rice kept on fire and all that. But in the problem with your example is that the rice and the milk and the milk and the pot and the pot and the fire are all in connection. But uh, for a liberated soul, there is no touch between the Atma and the body. Okay. So therefore, your inference fails when it comes to describing a liberated soul. Your inference is perfect when it comes to describing a conditioned soul. So the principles that apply to you, a conditioned soul, does not apply to me, a liberated soul. Huh? So then he says that, but Raghunam may say, oh, but the Vedas are filled with knowledge about living in this conventional world. So you are trivializing the conventional world completely, but the Vedas are filled with 99% discusses about living in this material world. He says, yes, that is true. Generally, the discussions about absolute truth does not arise in most parts of the Vedas. It talks mostly about proliferation of householder dharma. But this is because most people are not qualified to understand the absolute truth. So who is qualified and who is not qualified? A person who either by proper practice of nishkama karma or jnana or yoga or bhakti has not come to a conclusion, has not concluded by himself about the inferiority of material life and household life, such a person cannot understand the absolute truth. Hmm. Then the question arises, but why is it that people, in spite of being enlightened on the subject matter by the devotees, why do they engage in activities for material happiness? Okay. Why do they engage in activities for material happiness? He says, this is because the man's mind, being bound by the three modes, continues to engage him in pious and impious activities through the senses. We saw yesterday. This means that he does not have Shastriya Shraddha. He is just conducted by his Swabhava and Swabhavajam Shraddha. Yesterday we had a long discussion about Shastriya Shraddha and Swabhavajam Shraddha, or material sentimental faith. Okay. So when he is conducted by that, then he will not accept the instructions because he does not have faith in the scriptures. And this mind, which is endowed with pious and sinful impressions and attached to sense objects, is the cause of transmigration from the higher species to the lower species. And it creates unavoidable distress and happiness for the living entity in due course of time. But the question arises, oh, but the mind is inanimate, it is just material. How can it create anything? He says, yes, the mind is material. It is actually the jiva who is the original cause. But the mind, because of its close proximity with the jiva, becomes an instrument in creating happiness and distress. We saw the example of electricity and refrigerator. And that samsara which is created by the mind manifests as the practical material world, uh, and which is constantly witnessed by the um, um, jiva. But the happiness of self-realization is also created by the mind. Therefore, the mind is called as the cause of both bondage and liberation. Now, the question is, how can one mind be the cause of two contradictory different states? Okay, which is bondage and liberation. He says, um, mind, if it is attached to the gunas, it becomes the cause of bondage. And when the mind is detached from the gunas and attached to Krishna, it becomes the cause of liberation. Just like if you take a lamp, if the lamp is endowed with a charred wick, it gives only smoke. If it is endowed with a ghee-laden wick, uh, then it gives wonderful light, bright flame. In the same way, the mind bound by the gunas takes shelter of many conditions or transformations, and at other times enjoys the taste of the Lord's sweetness. Uh, mm. So then the question arises, what do you mean by many conditions or transformations of the mind? Hmm. So he says that the mind has the tendency to experience sound, touch, form, etc., and the mind accomplishes it through the karmendriyas, the gyanendriyas, and the ahankar. These are called the 11 transformations of the mind, and these senses have their corresponding sense objects. Now, what is the sense object of ahankar? Ahankar has two aspects, ahankar and mamakar, self-identification and identification and mamakar, possessiveness. The sense object of self-identification is the body. The sense object of mamakar are the things connected to the body, people connected to the body. But then he says, but these are not just 11 transformations of the mind. Due to variations in dravya, swabhava, antakarana, karma, and kala, these 11 transformations become unlimited, and they become unlimited not by their own efforts or by combined efforts. Actually, they become unlimited by the power of the super soul. Okay. So then the question arises, okay, just give me 1 second. Okay. So he says that you have explained how the conditioned soul suffers samsara being embraced by the mind. That is true. How does the liberated soul respond to these transformations of the mind? Hmm? How does the liberated soul respond to the transformations of the mind? This question arises. The liberated soul does not participate as a participant. The liberated soul only observes as an audience. He does not identify with those transformations and enjoy them. The transformations of the mind are sometimes visible and sometimes not. Hmm. So I understand. So then the question is, I understand that the conditioned soul absorbs himself in the um, conventional world of samsara. In what does the liberated jiva absorb himself? He absorbs himself in the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the object of meditation of the liberated souls. And then he explains, just as the air enters all moving and non-moving beings as prana and controls them, similarly the Supreme Lord pervades everyone and enters the universe as the um, Paramatma, and he kind of controls them. So then, okay, I understand that the liberated soul is free of samsara and is free of ignorance and eternally has knowledge in the form of thinking of the Lord. So till when does the conditioned soul wander in this samsara? That question arises. So he wanders as long as the jiva does not know the truth about the Lord, he must wander in this samsara. Now, how to identify a person who has gained that knowledge about the Supreme Lord? So such a person has destroyed Maya and is free of ignorance by appearance of knowledge and conquering the six senses. Then the question is, how does one know perfectly that Maya is removed and the knowledge of the truth of the Lord has appeared? What is the symptom? The symptom is that the mind no longer attaches to the sense objects. And finally, how to conquer the mind and take its attachments from sense objects away? the best way is to neglect the mind. Oh, but the mind is extraordinarily powerful. How can an ordinary conditioned soul neglect the mind? It is very difficult. He says by three methods. One is by being attentive. The second is by possessing the weapon of bhakti. And the third is by possessing the mantra given by the Guru. Okay. So this is where we ended our discussion. And now we will start with the uh, 12th chapter. And then after covering 12th chapter for a while, we will uh, we will we will open up for some discussion. Okay. So let me just share the link because it has already reached above 95. Very soon it may reach 100. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, let's start with the 12th chapter. The 12th chapter is titled as Jadabharata refutes the king's arguments. Again, I will touch this point again. The purpose of Jadabharata is not to refute Raghuna's arguments. You have to understand the purpose. If the purpose of an argument is not clear, if the purpose of a conversation is not clear, then we may get distracted or we may misunderstand uh, what is being discussed. Okay, we may misunderstand what is being discussed. So therefore, one should understand very clearly that the purpose of this whole conversation that is happening between Jadabharata and Rahuguna. From Rahuguna's perspective, there are two things. One is Rahuguna, this is very, very important. Okay. Rahuguna is not in an argumentative mood. Huh? Rahuguna is not in an argumentative mood. Rahuguna very clearly understands the exalted position of Jadabharata. Huh? He very clearly understands the exalted position of Jadabharata and he only wants clarification. He very clearly understands the exalted position of Jadabharata. Okay. So when he asks questions about the tangible position of the conventional reality in which he is acting as the king and engaging the others in his service and punishing them, chastising them, correcting them, he is telling, how can you call it insubstantial? Okay. Again, this question is presented in a mood of seeking clarification rather than not accepting the words of Jadabharata because he has very clearly understood that this Jadabharata is more advanced than me. Okay. He is more advanced than me. Okay. So he is seeking clarification because he's telling that, he's also quoting Shastras. Krishna clearly says, Swakarmanam tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manava. That whether a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Shudra, or a Brahmana can serve the Supreme Lord by executing their duties. I am also trying to execute my duty as a king. How can you trivialize it and say that it has no value? Very valid point. Very valid point. But Jadabharata's purpose is something that we need to understand. Jadabharata is not telling that you should stop acting on the platform of conventional reality. He says, what he is trying to communicate is, Rahuguna, you are qualified for more. Understand the absolute reality, and with that understanding, you act on the platform of conventional reality. Don't act purely on the platform of conventional reality. While your actions may be on the platform of conventional reality, your conviction and internal wiring should be on the platform of absolute reality. So, if you see, Krishna also in the fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita talks about karma on the platform of jnana. Karma on the platform of jnana. Sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyasakara ubhav. Tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. Krishna says that Arjuna, you may be qualified for jnana. Okay. And one who is qualified for jnana is qualified for karma sannyas. You can give up your varnashrama duties and take up this karma sannyas. This is allowed. Okay. And this karma sannyas, if properly performed, will give you liberation. But at the same time, a person at the qualification of jnana can continue to perform his varnashrama prescribed duties in order to set the right example for others who may not have qualification for jnana. And both are capable. Sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyasakara ubhav. Both karma sannyas and karma yoga practiced by a person who has already achieved the position of jnana, he says nishreyasakara ubhav. Both can give the ultimate perfection of liberation. Tayostu. But of the two, karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. Better than karma sannyas is karma yoga, which means to engage. To engage in one's varnashrama prescribed duties for two reasons. One is for loka sangraha purpose, to set the right example for others. And second is, what if you prematurely give up your karma without complete purification and later you realize that? Because once, from a social perspective, if you take up to sannyas by giving up your grihastha ashram, then there is no question of going back, because it will be a socially unacceptable thing. So you will get stuck up, because with an impure heart, you cannot progress at the stage of sannyas, because sannyas cannot purify. Okay. So from that perspective, Krishna says, your work, perform duties on the platform of jnana, karma on the platform of jnana. That is what Krishna recommends in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But the importance of jnana is very much emphasized. Okay. Jnana, the superiority of jnana, sarvam jnana plaveneva vrijinam santarishyasi. So very clearly Krishna says. So similarly here, Jadabharata is not recommending that Rahuguna stop acting on the platform of conventional reality, but Jadabharata is trying to inject the knowledge of absolute reality, because in Rahuguna, Jadabharata found the qualification to assimilate this knowledge. So Jadabharata was not, whomever he sees, he was not giving this knowledge. In so many years of his life, staying with his father, staying with his brothers, meeting the dacoits and meeting everyone else in between, he had not instructed on this subject matter to anyone. Everyone thought he was a dumb, dull person. But Rahuguna was the first person he thought who was qualified. He saw the qualification. That is why he spoke. Okay. Again, what he is recommending is, one should understand very clearly, he is not telling that conventional reality is completely non-valuable or unreal. He says, yes, you act on the platform of conventional reality, but not with the knowledge just of conventional reality. Act with the knowledge of conventional reality and absolute reality, but you may choose to act on the platform of conventional reality. Okay, that is what he is indicating here. That is how we should understand this whole conversation. So here Jadabharata refuting Rahuguna is not refuting conventional reality in itself. But he says mere understanding of conventional reality itself is not sufficient, Rahuguna. Understand the importance of establishing a relationship with Krishna, and with that understanding, you act in conventional reality. That is not a problem. Okay. That is how we should understand the words of Jadabharata. Hmm. That is how we should understand the words of Jadabharata. Okay. So this is very important. So let us, with this perspective, let us start the 12th chapter. Rahuguna starts in this chapter. Rahuguna starts. Namo namak karana vigrahaya swarupa tuchchikrita vigrahaya namo vaduta dvijabandhulinga niguda nityanubhavaya tubhyam. O Avadhuta, namo namaha. I offer repeated respects to you. Karana vigrahaya. You are having an eternal form like the Lord. Hmm. Swarupa Tuchchikrita Vigrahaya, which makes the writers of scriptures insignificant by its experience of bliss. Namo Namat Karana Vigrahaya, Swarupa Tuchchikrita Vigrahaya. So, um, I offer respects to you having an eternal form like the Lord. Having an eternal form like the Lord means he is not calling Jadabharata as the Lord, but he says a, an eternally perfected soul. And Nitya Siddha also has an eternal body, just like the Lord, mm, which makes the writers of scriptures insignificant by its experience of bliss. Okay, which means the writers of scriptures, you know, they may not have, they may write about karma and all that, but it does not necessarily apply to exalted souls. Namo Tubhyam, I offer respects to you, Niguda Nitya Anubhavaya, who have hidden your eternal experience of bliss, Vijabandhulinga in the form of a Brahmana. So, you have hidden your eternal experience of bliss in the form of a Brahmana. So, Srila Vishwanath Jagadakur comment summarizing this chapter, he says, the 12th chapter explains that though the universe is false, Krishna's 6 qualities, his abode and bhakti are true. Again, here, false means temporary. Temporary and insubstantial. That is the meaning of false. Okay. Okay. So Karana means the Lord. This indicates that Bharata has an eternal form for protecting the world. His form, that is a question also in the chat box. Why is Swarupa Tucci Krita Vigrahaya translated in that way? So that explanation is coming. His form, by its experience of bliss, makes insignificant the arguments of writers of scriptures. The writers of scriptures means the not the scriptures of the highest, Bhakti Shastras, which talks about rasa. He's talking about the Karma Shastras and the presentation of people who reject, bodily consciousness as not good. Okay. But that argument is not valid for someone like Jadabharata, who has an eternal body of bliss. Okay. That is the way, that is the understanding. Then he continues. Jwara mayartasya yatagadam sat nidagadagdasya yata himambah Kudehamaana hi vidashta drishte Brahman vachaste mritam aushadam me. Beautiful. So this you know this statement actually indicates Rahuguna's mood while he is hearing from Jadabharata. What does he say? O Brahmana, yata sadagadam. Sad means proper. Agadam is medicine. Just as proper medicine, Jwara, Amaya, Artasya. It cures a person who is suffering from the disease of fever. Yata Himambaha. Just as ice water or cool water, nidaga dagdasya. It relieves a person who has been burnt by the heat of the sun. Huh? In the same way, te vachaha, your words, aushadam, they are the medicine for me. Hmm. And who am I? Vidashta, I have been bitten. Bitten by what? Kudeha mana drishtehe ahi. Ahi means a snake. I have been bitten by a snake. Oh, what kind of a snake is that? Kudeha mana drishti. The false identity with this despicable body. I have been bitten by the snake of false bodily identification. And for that, your words are acting as a medicine. In fact, not even a medicine. Amritam, they are nectar. So while we are here thinking, we are feeling more dissatisfied with Jadabharata's answer than Raghugana himself. If as mere audience, if we feel that uh, you know what is he asking and what is he answering, if we are thinking like that, then ideally Rahuguna must have been much more dissatisfied with these answers, but actually Rahuguna feels very grateful. Rahuguna feels very grateful because he understood the whole thing in the right perspective. Okay. Oh, Rahuguna was trying to act on the platform of karma with the understanding of karma, whereas Jadabharata is trying to pull him to, a, to the platform of bhakti and jnana. Say, okay, you act on the platform of karma, that's not a problem, but not with the understanding of karma, but with the understanding of bhakti. Why? Because you have the adhikar for bhakti. You have the adhikar for bhakti. Therefore, don't act on the platform of karma. So, adhikar is not defined by the activities themselves. Adhikar is defined by the consciousness. So, Jadabharata is trying to pull the consciousness of Rahuguna higher. He may choose to perform the same activities, but not with the lower consciousness, but with the higher consciousness. eh, But with the higher consciousness. That is why you do have, all these activities of charity and yagya, tapasya, everything. Okay. When the consciousness is right, it is different. Like you see the case of the uh, the gopis worshipping Surya Dev, the gopis worshipping Katyayani Devi. In one sense, it is like demigod worship. But the demigod worship is stimulated by prema. Okay. So it is different. It elevates that activity to a whole different level. It elevates that activity to a whole different level. Okay. So that is what Jadabharata is trying to do to Rahuguna, because Rahuguna was performing karma on the platform of karma, whereas Jadabharata is telling, don't platform karma on the platform of karma. You may choose to perform karma, but on the platform of bhakti, because you are qualified for a higher consciousness. You are qualified for a higher consciousness. Okay. Like sometimes when you're traveling in train, I don't know if everyone is aware, while you are booking tickets, there is a provision where you can tell that considered to be, um, what do they say? Considered to be uh, elevated to a higher class. Okay. Let's say if you are booking in a, mm, auto upgrade. Correct, correct. Thank you. Mm. Auto upgrade. The auto upgrade option is there. So you may have booked a ticket for second class, but And you might not have realized you have been auto upgraded, okay, to third AC or second AC like that. Huh? Auto without having to pay anything extra. Similarly, Jadabartha is telling, Array, your auto upgrade has been approved. Why you are still sitting in third AC? You can move on to second AC. Okay, move on to second AC. You know, you have been auto upgraded. Like that is what here he is telling. So, okay, Swarupa Tuchikrita literally seems like trivializing identity. So that is why the acharyas are explaining it in the right way. And otherwise, Bhagavatam is there. huh, Bhagavatam is there. But if Bhagavatam is approached without the words of the acharyas, one cannot get the right perspective. So uh, that's how mm, we should understand. So he says, my vision has been bitten seriously by the snake of false identity with the despicable body. O Brahmana, your words are medicine. An example is given. On the grounds that this example is not always true, that is, medicine does not always cure, another example is given. So he says, Jwara Amaya Artasya Yatagadam Sat. Just as a correct medicine cures a person suffering from fever, he thought, oh, this is not always true. When it is not true, when the person's disease is completely karmically destined, you know, that it is not supposed to be cured by medicines. He is supposed to suffer the consequences of the disease. Then even a sad agadam, the perfect medicine, may not necessarily work. So therefore, he adds one more. Nidaga dagdasya yata himambaha. As an ice water relieves a person burnt by the summer sun. So he says, if the example of medicine is unsatisfactory, then the words of Bharata are compared to nectar. Okay, like that. Tasmad bhavantam mama samshayartam prakshami paschadaduna subodham adhyatma yoga gratitam tavoktam akyahi kautuhala cheta some bhavantam mama samshayartam paschat prakshami. I will later tell you my topics of doubt. Okay. I will later tell you the topics of my doubt. So glorified, having glorified Jadabharata, Rahugana says, I still have doubts and I'm seeking clarification for those doubts. He said, I will ask them later, but for now, hmm, uh, now you please explain what you have said about Adhyatma Yoga, making it easy to understand since I'm inquisitive. Okay. Please tell about Adhyatma Yoga. Okay. Because I'm eager to understand it. So he says, I will later tell you the topics of doubt. Now explain your words difficult to understand about Adhyatma Yoga so that it is easy to understand. I am inquisitive. Yadaha yogeshwara drishyamanam kriyafalam sadvyavahara moolam nahyanjasa tattva vimarshanaya bhavanamushmin brahmate manome. O Yogeshwara, yadaha bhavan, you have said kriya phalam, that the results of action, drishyamanam, they are seen in this world, sadvyavahara moolam, are simply based on convention. Nahi anjasa tattva vimarshanaya, and cannot be correctly said to be the highest truth. Amushmin brahmate manome, my mind is bewildered by this. Because this is what Jadabharat said, that the results of action seen in this world are only based on convention and cannot be said to be the highest truth. So can you please elaborate on this? He's asking, oh master of yoga, I said that one becomes tired from work And you replied that though there appears to be actions like carrying the load and results like becoming tired, this is only a conventional appearance, and one cannot discern the conventional world as the truth simply by such examples. Okay, this is what he said. Since your words are bewildering, my mind has become bewildered by not clearly understanding your intentions. Can you please explain why you said this and what does this mean? To summarize, he says, I offer my respects to you, having an eternal blissful form like the Lord. You have hidden your eternal experience of bliss in the form of a Brahmana. Your words are the medicine for me, who has been bitten by the snake of false identity with this despicable body. Your words are nectar. I will later tell you my topics of doubt. Now, please explain what you have said about Adhyatma Yoga, making it easy to understand since I am inquisitive. Okay. So he says, you have said that the results of action seen in this world are simply based on convention and cannot be correctly said to be the highest truth. Now, my mind is bewildered by this. Can you please explain a little more? So, okay. So, Jadabharata starts answering these questions. So, he says, just give me one second. Ayam jano nama chalan prativyam yah partiva kasya hetoh tasyapi changryor adigulfa janga jano rumadyor shirodaram saha amsedi darvi shibika cha yasyam savvira rajeti apadesha aste yasmin bhavan ruda nijabhimano rajasmi sindhushviti durmadandah. So Jadabharata is also using sarcasm. He is using sarcasm as a tool to communicate. He is using sarcasm as a tool to communicate. Okay. So he said, O Parthiva, O king, I am Janaha, this carrier, Yaha Parthivaha. So Parthivaha means king. Parthiva also means earth. Okay. O Parthiva, poetic usage. Okay. O king, I am Janaha, this carrier, Yaha Parthivaha, which is a transformation of earth. Chalan Prithvyam, walks on the earth. Okay. So Parthivaha, Prithvi means earth. Parthivaha can mean a transformation of earth, or Parthiva can also mean the ruler of the earth. So when Jadabharata is addressing um, uh, in Rahuguna as Parthiva, it is in a sarcastic sense. Parthiva is the king, but Parthiva also means, um, you know, a transformation of earth. O king, this carrier who is transformation of earth, Chalan Prithivyam, he is walking on the earth, Kasya hetoho, for some reason. Tasya api cha angrayor adi, Gulfa, Janga, Janu, Uru, Madhya, Urashirodara, Amsaha. And above his feet are the ankles, calves, knees, thigh, waist, chest, neck, and shoulders. Amse Adi, and above the shoulders, Darvi Shibika, an wooden palanquin, which is also a transformation of earth. Yes, Yam, and in that wooden palanquin, okay, Savira Raja iti Apadesha Aste is the person called the king of Savira. Yasmin Bhavan Durmada Andaha, who, blinded by illusion, Ruda Nija Abhimano, a false identity, Rajasmi Sindhushu iti. He thinks that I am the king of Sindhu. I mean, is he not the king of Sindhu? Yes, definitely he is the king of Sindhu. But that is again from a bodily platform. Okay, that is only from a bodily platform. Okay. So, not having understood the answer given to defeat the king's statement, the king asks again. Now, Bharata addresses the king disrespectfully. He is using disrespect as a mode of communication. He is not feeling disrespectful towards Rahuguna. He is not feeling disrespectful towards Rahuguna, but he is using disrespect as an instrument to communicate. O king, king means Parthiva. Parthiva literally means earth. Your conventional existence is insubstantial. Using another technique, Bharata now answers. This person, the carrier of the palanquin, is a transformation of earth, which means his body is a transformation of earth. But because you identify with the body, I can say that he is a transformation of earth. And he is moving for some reason. If he does not move, he is an inanimate object like a stone. This is the difference. His feet, a transformation of earth, are situated on earth. And above his feet are his ankles, calves, knees, thighs, waist, chest, neck, and shoulders, which are all transformations of earth. Uraha instead of Uras is poetic license. Above the shoulders is the palanquin, which is a transformation of wood, which is also matlab, earth. In the palanquin, a transformation of earth, there is a person with the name King of Savira. You think you are the king, but this is not actual. From all the elements starting with earth and ending with the palanquin, to which of these does the fatigue from carrying it belong? Okay. Can you tell, starting with the feet of the carrier till the palanquin, to whom or to what does the fatigue of carrying the palanquin belong? This is the question. So, this is asked by Jadabharata. Now, Rahuguna answers this. This is Rahuguna. So, Rahuguna says, I can see that the earth and the palanquin are not tired. Therefore, the feet, etc. Feet means feet and calves, ankles, knees, thighs. They must be tired, he says. But without the palanquin, we do not see fatigue in the limbs which do the carrying. When the palanquin is there, the feet and the other limbs experience tiredness. But when the uh, palanquin is not there, there is no fatigue seen. Fatigue arises for the possessor of the limbs from carrying the palanquin. So this is the conclusion. This is Rahuguna's conclusion. Rahuguna's conclusion. He says, fatigue arises for the possessor of the limbs from carrying the palanquin. Fatigue arises in the possessor of those limbs from carrying the palanquin. Okay. But, oh, okay. He says, but we cannot distinguish fatigue of the possessor of the limbs who is different from the limbs. Whether a possessor of the limbs exists or not, one experiences the suffering of fatigue in being the carrier. Okay. So now, Jadabharata says, anyone who carries the palanquin will experience the fatigue. So fatigue exists in the carrier of the palanquin due to due to carrying the palanquin. Now, Jadabharata says, are you sure? Okay. He says, this is not the final conclusion because one does not experience fatigue on carrying the ornaments of a young girl or on carrying one's young son, even though they may be more heavier than the palanquin. But by carrying it, one does not feel the fatigue. Thus, happiness and distress are experienced only by one's particular identity. Only by one's particular identity. I mean, this is, I am sure, one can experience this. Now, I remember when the identity is there, you don't mind certain activities do not give you that distress. Like when I was at GV, every day we used to have discussion. Every day, few of us brahmacharis used to come together and discuss Krishna Katha, Bhagavatam, or some of the writings of the acharyas. We used to sit and discuss. Because I had that identification as a facilitator of that group, I used to go early, uh, sweep that place and make it cleaner, okay, and put the chatai and other, mats and everything, you know, and get everything ready. And in those days, you know, those were the initial days when we used to write the Anvaya on the board. Okay. So if you were going to complete some, we had whiteboards and markers. Okay. And uh, we used to write, go and write the whole verse and Anvaya on the board every day. Can you imagine? So, uh, so how could now if someone else asked me to do that for something else, sweep this place, sweep that place, when that is there, it feels very burdensome because that identification is not there. But when that identification is there, it becomes easier. Okay. So that is why, if you see, Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita 18, chapter 14th verse, he says, the five causes of success of a particular action. Okay. Adishtanam tatakarta karanam cha pratagvida, vividascha pratak cheshta, daivam chaivatra panchamam. He says there are five causes of success of a particular activity. And one of the five causes is actually karta. Karta means that karta bhav, self-identification. If someone sees oneself in a particular role and identifies with that role, then performing an activity uh, which belongs to that particular role becomes very easy. But if one does not identify with that role, then to perform that same activity becomes very difficult. So basically, Rahuguna's argument is not wrong to say that the carrier of the palanquin, the limbs of the carrier of the palanquin becomes tired. Is this wrong? No, this is not wrong. But Jadabharta says this is not complete. This is not complete because you have completely rejected the concept of self-identification. Okay. If the carrier does not have, if the carrier does not see you as a respectable king, he will feel the fatigue much more faster. If he has great gratitude for you for being a fantastic king, he will not feel fatigue for a very long time. And if instead of you, if he has to carry, a load of gold for his own pleasure, he will not at all feel fatigue. He will not at all feel fatigue. Or if he is carrying his own lover in his hand, he will not feel fatigue because it is giving pleasure. So he's telling to say that, the possessor of the limbs feels that fatigue is not complete understanding, because, okay, it is only a partial understanding. There are other factors to it. Okay. And you, blind with false identity, thinking I am the king, actually sees nothing. This is your happiness. Those who have no false identity do not have this happiness and distress. That's what he's telling. Okay. I think we will pause here and see if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions. Because this is a very technically heavy section, I don't want to cover many, many verses, because I'm sure there will be some questions and discussion points which has to be taken while it comes. Okay, there are some things in the chat box which we will take first. Mind is the cause of both bondage and liberation. For bondage, the mind can hold material impressions, but for liberation, how can the mind made of subtle material elements hold spiritual impressions? It is possible. It is possible. Okay. Mind is, you can say, uh, like we say, there is something called as gender neutral. Okay. Gender neutral. It is not, uh, you cannot say that this is this gender or that gender. Mind, similarly, at least in this material world, uh, is just like a glass. A stainless steel glass can hold milk or it can hold liquor. Okay. So when it holds milk, it is called as a glass of milk. And when it holds liquor, it's called as a glass of liquor. Similarly, the mind is capable of storing material impressions and spiritual impressions. That's not a problem. That's the way it is designed. Okay. Okay, Govindari Prabhu says he is not dismissive of conventional reality, but trying to enhance the vision and perspective of the king. Yeah, correct. Okay, another question. I'm not very sure if I will understand it properly with the writing. I will try. To the point discussed on the difference between liberated and conditioned soul is the imagined false conception of self as the body. Now, when Mayavadis say that the worldly experience is illusion, is it because the worldly experience removes only something that is imagined when it does not exist in true sense? Also, my understanding is the difference of whether the worldly experience is real or illusion is relevant only on the ground of whether there is any life activity beyond liberation. If there is no activity post liberation, everything is illusion because the soul has no activity in impersonal state. And for us, there is life beyond liberation. And so worldly experience is very relevant that it wakes up the jiva to act on the spiritual platform. Uh, well, uh, we cannot say completely like that. If there is no action uh, beyond uh, liberation, that can also be a very good impetus. If for the person, all actions in this material world have given only pain, then no action with no pain is also a very reasonable impetus. No action, no pain is also a very reasonable impetus. And pain-free action to realize that takes a giant leap of faith. That giant leap of faith is what we call as Sukriti, Agyata Sukriti. Without that, that giant leap of faith is not possible. So therefore, it is easier to relate with no action, no pain. No action, no pain. Because especially for people who have had very painful experiences in this material world, no action, no pain is a very reasonable impetus. Whereas action without pain is something very difficult for people to conceive unless they have that sukriti. Swalpa punyavatam rajan vishwaso naiva jayate. Okay. For those who have swalpa sukriti, for them, vishwaso naiva jayate. Huh. So to trust these things are very, very difficult. Okay, like that. Okay. How does Jadabharat know the adhikara of Rahuguna? He's a very exalted person. He's a very exalted person. So he could understand the adhikara of Rahuguna. Yeah, mind is a semiconductor. It transmits or obstructs based on the condition. Yeah, you can say. Yes. Okay. Yes, Pavana Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Prabhuji.
Dandat Prabhu.
Prabhu, my question is this regarding, like we are discussing about uh, 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 reality and means it material reality and the absolute reality. In that context, Prabhu, when the scriptures discuss, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, when it also discuss purely on the soul platform and gives the highest devotional service. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean it doesn't give any materialistic reality. In that sense, for example, if we say like in the fifth canto or the fifth chapter only, when we are discussing that Rishabh Dev, when he is teaching, he is
Mhm.
saying that you worship me, and for the Uttamadhikari you worship Bharat
Bharat
Maharaj,
Maharaj.
and
Yeah.
then Brahmanas, and the next two slokas explaining about the living entities. You should
Yeah.
respect all the living entities. That
Yeah.
means even the devotional aspects also including all these relative truths also, no, Prabhu, in terms of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Correct. That is
Now,
true.
sometimes if we say that devotional aspects are not including those material things, those material realities, then how come these things come, Prabhu? And in terms of way, because if we ask in that sense, then we are minimizing the path itself only. Why? Because devotional
Yeah.
service it
Yeah.
doesn't address.
Yeah. We are
Yeah,
not presenting the full scope of devotional service. You say,
devotional service.
oh, devotional service means only Shravanam Kirtanam. But
Yeah.
come on, what do you have to say about the nectar of instruction and all those things? Look at Bhagavatam. How much it talks about respecting living entities, dealing with living entities, dealing with other people. Ishvare
Yes.
tada dineshu balisheshu dvishastu cha prema maitri kripa upeksha. It talks about dealing with everyone.
Yes.
So to say that, okay, um, devotional service is only for establishing relationship with Krishna, but to deal with the material world, you need the other things. No, I mean, to deal with the material world, according to Bhakti Adhikar, there are innumerable books written by our acharyas which explain
Mm.
it.
Yes.
So, yeah,
And also, Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita in multiple chapters. He explains about the dualities and tolerance and the qualities. These also not only on the platform of devotional service. At the same time, even when we are dealing with the material world, also these are applicable. It doesn't only mean that we are on the soul platform, on the devotional platform, at the surrender level only. These are going to be manifested, not in the daily dealings. It doesn't mean in that sense, na Prabhu. Those
yeah,
also.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you. And one more question, Prabhu. In today's discussion, in these two analogies came, one is carrying the gold and carrying a daughter. Here, like for example, if even in that also we have the identification either with the gold, having saying that with this gold I can enjoy. With this,
yeah,
like a daughter, I have this, enjoyment of that father and daughter relationship. There is a
yeah.
back end. We have that enjoyment tendency is there. That's why we are able to
Yes,
tolerate. But
correct,
still,
correct.
we are getting fatigue.
No, that fatigue is not experienced.
But
That
we may
fatigue
not
is not
experience.
experienced.
Yeah, we may not experience, but that will come, na Prabhu.
Huh?
Fatigue we may not be experienced that one, but
Hmm.
the process of fatigue will be there, right?
Yeah, it is there, but the soul will experience only to the extent it is not identifying. So the moment many times. See, the point is it is not experience. Of course, the body is a material element. It will undergo wear and tear. We are not denying that. But whether the soul will experience it, how it will experience to the extent that it identifies with the body.
Okay, what it identifies in that sense only, in that sense only, it will drive that that when you say whatever the feelings and all those things, thinking and willing, these
Yeah,
will be driven by the identification, with the identification
yeah,
only.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Great. Shyam Sundaranantu.
Dandavat Prabhu.
Dandavat.
Actually, this today's discussion ignited one of the uh, very long back conversation we are supposed to have. And actually, you said one analogy like of sweeping the floor of the GEV for the class to be conducted,
Yeah,
because you have that feeling towards it, that the Bhagavatam, you have that liking, so you did not feel the fatigue. Uh,
yeah.
so similarly, this is applicable everywhere in our life also. When we
Hmm.
have some, when we have some liking or love for something, we definitely don't mind how much our endeavor it takes to. Uh, that means the concept of I and mine and the possessiveness is coming into play in this interaction, right?
Yeah.
So whether it be a material thing or whether it be a spiritual activity, so the
Hmm.
concept of I and mine is coming into play, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on the one hand, we feel that material activities are material world. Whenever we discuss material world, we say concept of aham mameti.
Yeah.
But this is also a good thing when we are doing the spiritual activities, right?
Correct. Correct.
So actually, my question is not this. My question
Hmm.
is, when we are convinced about something, the fatigue doesn't matter, right? And
Yeah.
but the ultimate what Bhagavad Gita preaches is like you have to rise above this feeling of aham and mameti, right?
No.
Hmm. Okay.
Bhagavad
Okay.
Gita says you should rise about material aham and material mama.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
otherwise, if you see the
Hmm.
description of prema that Srila Rupa Goswami um, gives in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says the most telltale symptom of prema, he says, is atishaya mamatvankitah. So, this is especially seen in those who have prema towards the form of Krishna. He says they have an extraordinary feeling of possessiveness towards Krishna,
Mhm.
and things related to Krishna. Gurau, Goshte, Goshtalayeshu, Sujane, Bhusuragane, Swamantre, Srinamni, Vrajanavayuva, Dvandva Sharane. Raghunath Das
Hmm.
Goswami mentions in the first verse of Manasiksha. He says
Okay.
there is an extraordinary sense of possessiveness towards Krishna and everything connected to Krishna. Guru,
Hmm.
there is possessiveness towards Guru.
Hmm.
Goshte, towards
Hmm.
Vrindavan. Goshtalayeshu, towards Vrajavasis.
Hmm.
Okay. So that kind of mamatva
Hmm.
is is favorable.
Hmm.
So when Bhagavad Gita says rise above
Hmm.
the dualities,
Hmm.
then it means rise above the material dualities. And
Hmm.
when you rise above the material dualities and not develop mamatva towards uh, the spiritual reality, that is the stage of Brahman.
Hmm.
Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. That's all.
Hmm.
Samas
Okay.
sarveshu bhuteshu. That's all.
Hmm.
So that is Brahma. But
Okay.
if beyond that you develop Atishaya Mamatva, an extraordinary form of possessiveness towards Krishna and everything connected to Krishna, that is the
Hmm.
stage of Prema.
Okay. Yeah, just delving. Okay, this clarifies, Prabhuji, on that the material versus spiritual. Uh, if we just go down a little bit into material,
Mhm.
also this applies to the spiritual also. When our possessiveness is delicate due to some XYZ reason, right?
Mhm.
So even in companies also, they say that
Mhm.
you own this. You
Mm,
own this.
mm,
It is your baby. You do
mm,
whatever you want, they say.
mm, mm,
But that ownership is organically given, right? It's just not like when someone says it, you own it and you take it and you say it is owned, right?
mhm.
That person who is taking that ownership has to feel some connection towards it, that aham and mama, right? This
Correct.
is mine. Then only he
Correct.
can take full ownership of it.
Correct.
And there can be XYZ factors which are influencing that aham and mama, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Similarly, in the spiritual life also, when we are
Yes.
not yet ready to that highest teaching, that you take
Mhm,
Krishna as your own, Krishna is your lover, Krishna is your friend, master,
mhm,
everything. We
mhm.
hear it, but if we don't feel it, like connected to it, we are not inspired to do the that other activities which are
Correct.
related to that, right?
Correct.
Now,
Yes.
wha- how can we, balance both the things? Now we understand. Again, I think I go into the same question again. Perhaps I am not at that level today, but I
Mhm.
have to go to that level. But in
Correct.
between, I am being judged that I don't take ownership
Mhm,
in the materially and spiritually also.
mhm.
So how do we I mean, walk this path?
Yeah. So, uh, see, this is a very, very, very valid question that you have asked. While we have not developed mamatva towards Guru, Krishna, etc.,
Mm,
uh, so therefore, so what is going to be our impetus to go forward? Because if that mamatva is there,
uh,
then I will very spontaneously and naturally do it.
uh,
In the absence of that mamatva, then I
uh,
will not do it uh, because
mm,
that identification is not there. That's a
mm,
very valid point. So
mm,
that is why in Srila Rupa Goswami defines uh, sadhana bhakti as yatra raga anavaptatvat. He's talking about Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Hmm.
mm,
So he defines it as yatra raga anavaptatvat pravrittir upajayate shasanenaiva shastrasya sa vaidhi bhaktir uchyate. So he
mm,
says yatra
mm,
raga anavaptatvat. That spontaneous mamatva is not there. Hmm.
mm,
But
mm,
still pravrittir upajayate. But you still see the activities of devotion being carried out by this person. So where is the
mm,
impetus coming from? He
mm,
says shastrasya shasanena eva.
mm,
It is coming from the Shastras, which say, oh, you want to progress on the path of devotional service?
mm,
Okay. You want to progress in your spiritual life? Then do this, do this, do this, do this. So
mm,
even though that very spontaneous attachment to Guru and Krishna may not be there, that may not be the driving force, but
mm,
the willingness to progress in spiritual life may be there. And to the extent it is there,
mm,
we will take shelter of the injunctions of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra and try
mm,
to follow it, even though that raga may not be there. Hmm.
mm,
That raga is not there to drive us, that atishaya mamatva is not there.
mm,
But at least a desire to progress. I want to progress in the spiritual life. That desire is there. So with
mm,
that desire, we follow the injunctions of the scriptures. So in that case, the injunctions of the scriptures, which give clear guidelines as to how to progress in spiritual life, that
mm,
become the impetus to move forward. So
mm,
Vaidhi or Vidhi means rules and regulations.
mm,
Those are needed when there
mm,
is no spontaneous attachment.
mm,
When the spontaneous attachment is there,
mm,
you don't need to be told what to do. But till that
mm,
attachment is there, you need to
mm,
be told and pushed.
mm,
Okay. That is the path of Vidhi.
mm,
Okay. So when you go to
mm,
the um, when you go to the when you're working in your office,
mm,
when they say, this is your child, you
mm,
nurture it, what
mm,
they are doing is they are trying to create that raga,
mm,
that mamatva.
mm,
Because even in the outside world, they
mm,
know that
mm,
raga is a much more stronger impetus than vidhi.
mm,
It is easier to stimulate you to do something
mm,
uh, by making you feel that this belongs to you
mm,
than
mm,
by creating a sense of belonging
mm,
than to take a stick and get behind you.
mm,
Okay. So even
mm,
the outside world realizes it. Okay.
mm,
So that's what he says, that yatra raga anavaptatvat pravrittir upajayate shasanenaiva shastrasya sa
mm,
vaidhi bhakti ruchate. So this vidhi marga is where you have not developed that mamatva or
mm,
raga,
mm,
but you are interested in progressing forward. So
mm,
just like in the company, you want to get your salary, and for
mm,
salary, they say you have to you have to do
mm,
uh, you have to follow the rules and regulations.
mm,
Okay. So because you are interested in the salary that comes,
mm,
but the company feels, apart from the salary, if I
mm,
make him feel that
mm,
this is his child,
mm,
okay, and generate that mamatva, then
mm,
beyond the salary, he will
mm,
also be stimulated by that attachment to that project, that which he
mm,
identifies as his own project.
mm.
Okay. So
Correct.
that means they are pushing you in the to become a Raganuga employee.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
So just as here, but that comes only when you develop some skills.
Mm,
Without any skills, you cannot identify something as your own child, right?
mm,
So
mm,
similarly, so that is
mm,
the initial Vaidhi stage. Till you
mm,
develop that skills and where that person can trust you and tell you, take this, this is your child.
mm,
Similarly, in the path of bhakti also, there is the Vaidhi marg, where initially, you know, all that you have is you have the impetus of progressing in spiritual life and not wanting to be in this material world. So for that, you accept the Shastrasya Shasan. Okay, I have to do
mm,
this, I have to do this, I have to wake up in the morning, chant the holy names, even
mm,
though
mm,
avidya pittopatapta rasanasya na rochikanu,
mm,
you know, because our senses are covered with this avidya, we don't find it very tasty.
mm,
But somehow, by following these rules
mm,
and regulations are, especially the Gaudiya Vaishnava rules
mm,
and regulations, are
mm,
designed in such a way that gradually over a period of time, you will develop that raga, and that will
mm.
become the impetus.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, this actually triggered one thing in my mind. So, about Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service, Jnana
Hmm.
Karmadi Anavrutam. Right.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
Jnana, if you take Jnana Anavrutam,
Hmm.
so when we sit in a Bhagavatam class, I'm talking about a little bit spirituality here, but actually this applies in the workplace also.
Hmm.
That my boss asked me to do own something because he can get the work done out of me without he pressurizing me again and again.
Correct.
Because uh,
Yeah.
so but I know as an employee that seeing the history and the experiences, actually
Hmm.
that is not what exactly he wants. All he wants is the work done from me.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
so now I know it beforehand. So that
Yes.
kind of actually makes my heart hard, saying
Correct.
that okay, anyway, this is there is no genuine love for me here. All he is
Correct.
looking for is that he
Work.
wants some work to be done, and
Yes.
this carries in our spiritual management also. Those
Ah.
yeah,
Okay.
uh,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
I agree.
and
So when I
actually,
say bhakti,
yeah,
when we are discussing about this,
yeah,
I am not telling this from the perspective of the institution at all.
No. I am not going that way anyway. Also, that I will have it. That is not a discussion. My heart has no because of the knowledge which I got right now, that
Mhm.
I am not able to possess that mamakar for that,
Yeah,
because this
yeah,
anyway is a thing which I don't perhaps uh, will give fulfillment to me. Mm.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
but I see that the other people who seemingly have, you know, they don't actually own it, but they seemingly show that they have owned it. They are
Mhm.
reaping the benefits of it.
Yes.
And as a person who is knowing both, that this is like the false thing which is happening, and
Mhm.
I don't want to give in to that, gajar, whatever bait, right?
Yes.
And I am overlooked. So
Correct.
so then they say that, okay, as you sow, so shall you reap.
Correct.
That philosophy comes in. Now,
Correct.
now my question is, as a person who is knowing both, what is my course of action, saying that, okay, this is not going to give me the result. That's why my mind, or I am not convinced of it. It is
Mhm.
like I am not convinced of it, but I am doing it. I have to do it. So, and I don't feel the impetus to do it when I am convinced of it, because I am not convinced of it. But if I don't do it, I don't get the result.
Correct.
So, but
So
I am
which
attached to
means
the result.
correct. That is the point. That is
Yeah,
where that is the carrot. As long as you're attached to the carrot, you have to go
yeah,
behind it. Right. So I mean it's not even carrot, it's a need,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
necessity. Okay. It's not just attachment, it's a necessity. So you need
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So now I would see it this way. From the boss's perspective, he is trying to create that mamatva in you so that he can exploit you.
Yeah.
Okay. But the
Mm,
point is, we have to see what we want. We
mm,
want that promotion, we want that extra money.
mm,
If that is very clear,
mm,
then the path is I can either
mm,
engage in this activity as a Vaidi employee or a Raganuga employee. That is my
mm,
choice. Forget,
mm,
I will refuse to see from the perspective of the boss. I will see from my own perspective. From my own perspective, what benefits me? One thing that is very clear is I want that promotion and I want that extra money. If that is very clear, then forget
mm,
if the best course of action is to stop seeing from the boss's perspective, see
mm,
from your own perspective, what would best suit you. Would you, if you would like to be a Vaidi employee or Raganuga employee, yes, he is asking you to own it, because if you own it, it will relieve his job. Okay. He does
mm,
not have to get behind you with a stick to get the work, get the job done.
mm,
Now, that is good.
mm,
So, but if you own it and
mm,
do it yourself,
mm,
okay, we see that why should I do my boss a favor?
mm,
Okay, that is the thing that is becoming an obstacle to our, you know, and especially when the boss is trying to exploit me,
mm,
why should I do him a favor?
mm,
Okay, by
mm,
reducing his job. But the
mm,
point is, rather than seeing it like that, remove the boss out of equation and just
mm,
see it independently. If
mm,
I do it with great attachment
mm,
by owning it, I am
mm,
going to get uh, uh, the increment and the promotion which I desire. If you see it
mm,
like that,
mm.
then there is no problem. But
Okay.
because you see there is a boss with a crooked mentality who is trying to, no, all said and done, he's not trying to,
Mm,
uh, I mean, it may be crooked from his perspective, but from your
mm,
perspective, if you remove the boss from the equation, then the
mm,
point is if you do
mm,
the same job with great attachment,
mm,
uh, uh, then you are going to get your money and you are going to get your promotion and you are going to like your job.
mm.
Okay, so that stress is gone. But if
Right.
you bring the boss into equation, you are allowing the boss to neither enjoy your work,
Mm,
nor get your promotion, nor get your
mm,
increment, and suffer.
mm. Yes.
So So the best course of action would be, look, I want the money,
mm,
I want the promotion,
mm,
and I want to do the job by liking the job. What is the best course? Own it. Make it your
mm,
child and do it. Like
mm,
what you're doing. Be
mm,
benefited by it. Get the promotion and the the additional increment that comes from it. But
mm.
just remove the boss from it. That's it.
Yeah. It actually is hinting at that Bhagavad Gita, yoga karma sukha art of doing work, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Right.
Hare
Right.
Krishna. Yes, Vijay Kumar.
Harish Prabhuji,
Dandath.
Prabhuji, I have a question regarding yesterday's, day before yesterday's class, regarding the neglecting the mind based upon the 3 points that you are
Yeah,
giving.
yeah.
Uh, yes, Prabhuji. But in gross things, we will neglect which are against the path of devotion. It is easy to discriminate what is good and what is bad. But when it is the context of the some things which we don't know whether it will help me in future or not,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in a devotional circle, sometimes the ideas of getting money or ideas of rearing the children or education of the children, this seems
Mm-hmm.
to be little difficult, which to be neglected and which to be taken into consideration based upon our
Yeah,
level of devotion or the ideas which is coming, because uh, after some point after we may end up in regret also.
yeah.
So how that maturity to the mind comes, or how we may need to cultivate that? Can you please explain it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point. Okay, if we know that this stimulus from the mind is unfavorable for bhakti, then we will neglect it. But oftentimes we may not know whether it is favorable or not favorable. So whether it is an indication coming from Krishna or it is coming from my mind, should I neglect it or embrace it? I don't know. So what should I do? The best thing is, or how to develop that maturity to identify that this is favorable and this is unfavorable. Well, that comes gradually only. That comes gradually with our diligent, uh, you know, um, engagement with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and our through our practice, it comes. Uh, but till it comes, we can always take guidance from higher authorities in whom we have trust. Okay, so we don't have to know it ourselves. If we have a doubt, we can go and ask and seek clarification. That's all.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we can pause here and continue this discussion tomorrow. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.